anyway, so trench strategy. Okay, so
I gave you crumbs.
I'm gonna go through all the different roles. I'm starting with the off tanks role, which I think is the hardest role in trench strategy. So off tank is gonna be on the blade arm.
Yep.
So
And
basically,
guarding the main tank,
during
right?
um you can guard whoever. Like I usually just guard a DPS because, and I use the minor force guard and guard a DPS. But you can guard a tank and guard a healer, or I just randomly guard one person. I just look in the crowd and I press the guard button. Whoever gets it gets it.
Fair
I
enough.
don't, I don't really care who
Professional.
gets it.
Oh, give
Um.
it to me.
So anyway, main tank. I mean, off tank is going to be up here, and there's really nothing for you to do. You're just going to stand here and just eat the blade arm. What a lot of off tanks do is that they'll slot vamp drain, so that they can be generating ultimate and just shooting up. So when blade arm breaks, there's going to be a capacitor that spawns on the other side.
Right.
You'll taunt that capacitor, and then walk over here to this corner spot right here.
Okay.
This corner spot is pretty important because like behind you, there's there's this lightning ball that kind of floats around in this area. So
Okay.
you know that lightning ball that you like if the DPS like back up a little bit too much, they might get hit by it and die to it. So anyway, this corner is safe in that lightning ball, and if you stand right on this corner, that capacitor will end up right there where I'm shooting, like at the bottom of the ramp.
I can't. Right here.
No, no,
Right.
that further down, further down.
I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
actually
exactly.
see your
Where
your
those two
shot.
people are. Oh, right, you have the rendering problems. So yeah, exactly where Final is jumping right now. That's where
Okay.
the capacitor will end up.
Gotcha.
So you taunt the capacitor and you move over to this corner, and that's where the capacitor ends up. After the capacitor ends up in that position, I'll move back over here again to intercept the next capacitor that spawns.
And basically
So
repeat
next,
the.
repeat, rinse and repeat. So I come back here, and then both capacitors will be down there by the ramp at that spot right there.
Okay.
And then once boss starts moving to the center, I will jump off like this and stay on the ramp right here.
Okay.
It's like kind of in the middle of the ramp off on the side. And what that will do is that will pull the capacitor right onto the terminal. So they're stacked nice and tight on the terminal.
Gotcha.
Okay. Sometimes you have to watch out though, because sometimes the little lightning ball roams around and will roam onto this ramp. If that happens, then don't jump onto this position because you don't want to die to it. If that happens, just leave the capacitors where they are. They're gonna be not stacked on the terminal, but that's better than killing the off tank to try to get it onto the terminal. So, if the ramp is clear, jump onto this position and it'll pull the capacitors. And like 90% of the time, the ramp is gonna be clear. Jump here, the capacitors will be pulled onto the terminal.
Okay.
After you do that, and this is another tricky part, at this point this area is going to be filled with poison, so you want to get the fuck out of here really quick.
Right.
I will roll dodge through to get back out into this group here, and then I will back all the way over here. And then the reason you do that is that the capacitors, they do their conduit strikes to the person farthest away from group.
Right.
So by being back here behind the group, the conduit strikes are going to be targeting you. You're kiting out the conduit strikes. And they're not going to be landing right in the middle group. They're going to be landing behind the group. And hopefully they're not going to be hitting... they're not going to be hitting the
group.
so.
Gotcha.
And through all this time, keep your reflect up so that you're debuffing the capacitor.
Right.
So, to recap, actually, why don't you just go through what I just did? Just to make sure that...
Quiz time.
Blah blah blah. Stand here. Blocky blocky blocky. Die die die.
Vamp drain? Oh, you're not gonna die. It's like,
Vamp
you
drain.
don't need it. Yeah, I saw two heals. I saw Vigor and GDB, and that's enough to keep me alive, and I just like Vamp drain.
Taunty.
Totally fine.
Blade arm dies. Taunt the capacitor. Come to edge.
Huh?
Wait for capacitor to move. Once capacitor's moved down, I come back over. Wait around. Taunt the next one. Come back to edge. Everyone else is doing stuff. Once two capacitors are stacked, look behind, jump down if ramp is clear, come to here.
Not too far off to the side
Oh.
because this little thing here, this little protrusion here, that will actually line of sight them.
Oh, okay. So
So
just
don't be completely off to the edge because that will line of sight them and cause them to go in a weird way. Just like stand right where I am right now,
Okay.
just like a couple feet away from the
so
edge.
drop down middle of ramp. Once they're stacked on, roll dodge through, come back and come back out to
Here to kite it out, yeah.
the whatever the thingy is.
All right, that's the easy thing. Main tank has it really easy. Basically, you just stand here and the two things that the main tank will be doing is that as terminal phase comes in. By the way, you're not counting the calefactors that are spawning out there. Off tank. Off tank, you do not ever touch the calefactors.
Right.
They might aggro onto you. If they do, that's just annoying. Just leave them be. Eventually, they'll come down when you come down if they're aggroed onto you. But anyway, when the calefactors come down, either on their own will or they chase the off tank when the off tank comes down, main tank will grab the calefactors, and the main tank wants to stay on this side of the boss because the calefactors will be coming down this ramp. You do not want to rely on range taunt to grab the calefactors, which is a mistake that I've made a few times. Because they will sometimes have to reflect up. So there was once when a calefactor came down, it was reflecting. I tried to range taunt it. It wouldn't range taunt, and it ran all the way over to the far terminal group. Really annoying. So you want to stay on this side so that you can run up to it and pierce it really quick. Basically, you grab the calefactors and you stack them onto the terminal. And so the off tank stacks the capacitors onto the terminal, main tank stacks the calefactors onto the terminal. Also, as you're tanking the main boss, since every DPS is going to be off in the trench, all the facsimiles are going to spawn inside the trench. So if a facsimile spawns, someone will just call out, facsimile spawns. You turn around, range taunt the facsimile, and just hold the facsimile with you with the boss, and the facsimile will die in cleave. This makes dealing with the facsimiles a lot easier because it's going to be stacked with the main boss and they'll die really, really quick and not really pose a problem. Whereas if you are holding the facsimiles up there, you're not really getting cleaved and they, stay alive for a long time. They're enraged and they still start doing nasty stuff. And that's anyway. So that's the main tank's job. Off tank. Not off tank. Melee DPS. Melee DPS, you just be stacked on this side. The reason you want to be on this side and not, with the main tank is because main tank will be holding facsimiles and calefactors. And if you're stacked with the main tank, you might get breathed on by the calefactors. You might get AoE'd by the facsimiles. So you stay off a bit to the side, off on this side of the boss. And the most important thing that you do as melee DPS is that when the boss raises its left foot, which is the foot on your right as you're facing the boss, when the boss raises its right foot, you have to block. Raises his left foot, you have to block. And there are a lot of people who will die to this. Like, if you ever watched the one of the streams that Mundus had when they were going for TikTok, there was once they made it all the way to Assembly General without any deaths, and the first death that they had was the DPS who forgot to block. The Assembly General raised his foot. Don't know why people forget to block that. I mean, it's such an obvious tell. It's like, this giant foot raising into the air. Block it. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just block the stomp, and you're fine. There's really no damage up here. For ranged DPS have options. So this line here is it's roughly this line. It's not exactly on this line, but it's approximately this line. In front of this line, you have to deal with the stomps. Behind this line, you have to deal with the traps. Ranged DPS, you can pick your poison. Some ranged DPS find it easy for them to just sidestep the traps as they come out. I mean, you can see the traps coming out in a line, and you can be like, oh, it's coming this way. I'll just step a few feet over, and it's not going to hit me. Some ranged DPS are really good at that, and they prefer to stay back here. Some ranged DPS have trouble sidestepping the trap, and in that case, they can just stay with the melee DPS. If you stay with the melee DPS, same rule applies. You see that foot raise up into the air, block so that you don't die. Ranged deaths are a lot easier to control because that's the only two things that can kill you. There's either traps that you sidestep or stomps that you block. You don't have to worry about like this giant firearm toasting everyone, or a healer goes down, you're not going to automatically die. Healer goes down on the firearm, you're kind of fucked. If a healer goes down and you're in the trench, it's okay. You can avoid the damage in the trench. So, that's that. We will have a kite healer who will kite the firearm, and all that the kite healer does is that they stand on this corner right here and heal from this corner. This corner is far enough back that the firearm will never touch them, but it's also in a position that can aggro the firearm. Unfortunately, there isn't a position like that for the blade arm. This only works for the firearm, but the kite healer will just stay out here and heal the group from this position and just maintain aggro on the firearm. The other healer will be off in the trench. The other and just healing the group from the trench. Sometimes they'll be in with the melee group to just. Some groups do it where the trench healer is just in the trench and just dealing with the melee group, and the kite healer is kind of healing the range group from behind. Or they can be behind the range group and whatever. Just divide up the healing duties as you see fit. Doesn't really matter because you're both healing people in the trench. Have like one healer healing the people in the front, one healer healing back. Oh, that's that. So terminal phase. Off tank stacks the capacitors. Main tank stacks the calefactors, and if there are any facsimiles alive, they'll be stacked by the main tank as well. And everyone just away team will drop their alts on the terminal and just
So
kill
you might need to
everything.
go over the groups on terminal.
So this varies from group to group. When we did this thing with Mudball last year, we had we split the DPS 4 and 4, so 4 DPS would stay with the terminal and 4 DPS would go on the away team, and each group had a healer. When we're doing it this year with Drummer's group, we just have 2 people go on the away team and 6. The problem with having 6 DPS stay with the terminal is that Healing Springs does have an AoE cap. So you have 1 healer healing 6 DPS and 2 tanks. So it can get a little dicey, which is why it's sometimes better to send more people off to the away team. But
so both tanks are going to be on this side, and then ideally.
Well, one tank, main tank is going to be over
right here, and
off tank is going to be
back here. And then you have 1 healer and 4 DPS here, and then the other 4 run to. Does it matter, or always just like 3 o'clock?
So, we always go 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Everyone go 9 o'clock for that. So that's that. Just make sure that you do save your ults for this. So in this strategy, you want to save your ults for terminal phase because you're going to push the boss to terminal phase pretty quickly, and the most important thing is that you kill all the ads during terminal phase. Save your ults for terminal phase. It shouldn't be, without a DPS creep, it shouldn't be a problem killing all the ads with.
And do I cheat when the things are dead? Do I cheat and start moving over to?
So that's the other thing. Once everything is dead, what we do is that all the groups converge in the center, because this spot right here, underneath the Assembly General's ass, is a safe spot. Like you don't actually, if you stand right here, meteors don't actually do any damage down here. Like you see meteor AoEs, but you don't actually take any meteor damage, and of course you're not going to take any blade damage. So. What we do is that after both groups kill the terminals, we just kind of converge here and just chill, regenerate resources and all.
Okay.
And then once the next group starts, everyone just kind of goes to their spots.
Off tank moves.
Off tank goes onto the blade arm side, and kite healer goes onto the firearm side. Major expedition would help in that case. What you can do is that often can like cast rapids or something to give the healer some help. Alternatively, Remember off tank to get onto the blade arm side, it's always
You broke up there.
leave. Oh, I said to get onto the blade arm side, it's always 363.
Right.
That's the so what off tank can do is that they can, if you don't want to like, if you don't just want to hang out here, if you want to get a head start, off tank can like start heading off to 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 3 o'clock. And the kite hero, if they want to do the same thing, would do 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9, 12, 9.
Okay.
So that's what you do. But what we've been doing recently is just everyone chill out in the center and regenerate resources. Kind of a nice moment to relax and we take a breather.
Discuss the day's events. Cool.
Um,
And then I assume how is execute done for firearm or once blade arm goes down? How is
so once blade arm goes down, main tank will turn up the first calefactor. Basically, you do the exact same thing. Like you off tank grabs both capacitors, main tank grabs both calefactors, and you're dragging all of them into execute. So yes, you're going to have 2 calefactors and 2 capacitors in execute.
gotcha? So I have
But it's a lot easier to stack because remember when you're stacking capacitors in the old strategy, you kind of have to go into that arm and then
right.
taunt it again and go into another arm.
Yep.
Here it's a lot easier. Once you pull the capacitors down into the trench here, I jump down, retaunt them, and just run straight down the line.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now
Cool.
it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to stack. So I retaunt. Actually, what I do is I once I get back to around this spot, I'll retaunt them again, and then I'll come back to around here or so, and by that point they'll be stacked up in the center, and I'll come back.
Okay.
Same thing with the main tank. Main tank will main tank is a lot easier. Since they're all melee, you just grab them. And what I typically have the main tank do is that instead of main tank standing right on the healer,
Right.
main tank will actually stand up right
With the
between
thing,
the boss's
so the
legs.
ads come between, so it'll be healer,
Yeah,
ads, and tank.
so that the calefactors are stacked on the center with the boss and not to the side. And also, if the calefactor steams, they're not going to be steaming you onto the healer.
Right.
So
Yep.
and that's that really, I think. So the advantage is that it's a lot simpler of a strategy. It's faster. The facsimiles are going to die a lot quicker, and it's a lot easier to get control of the facsimiles. And the only downside is that it's less recoverable. I feel like I'm missing something. Went over what the healers have to do, right?
Yep. Heal.
Yeah, I think you should try it again.
Sure. Final. Yeah. Yeah, I think we got it.
Okay. Any questions?
Nothing I can think of offhand. I'm sure once we try it out a few times and fail miserably, I might have some.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming and showing.
Yeah, appreciate that.